Today we're learning about perfect squares and square roots. Perfect squares are the product of squaring a base number. They are called perfect squares because you can actually make a square out of them. 1 squared is 1 times 1, which just equals 1. And this square right here would represent that because it has a length of 1 and a height of 1. 2 squared is 2 times 2, which is 4. And this square would represent 2 times 2, and an area of 4. 3 squared is 3 times 3, which is 9, and this square would represent 3 along the base, 3, height, and an area of 9. 4 squared equals 4 times 4, which is 16. This square represents a base and a height of 4 and an area of 16, and so on, with 5 squared and 6 squared. Square root. The square root is a number that produces a quantity when multiplied by itself. For example, 7 is the square root of 49. 7 squared equals 7 times 7, which equals 49. This is the square root symbol, also known as the radical sign. An example would be 100, and here is the radical sign or the square root sign. Well, I'm looking for the square root of 100. What number times itself will give me 100? The square root of 100 is 10. 10 squared is 10 times 10, which equals 100. Let's try some. What is the square root of 9? What number multiplied by itself will give you 9? Well, 3. Because 3 squared, or 3 times 3, equals 9. Square root of 49, 7 is the square root. Because 7 times 7 is 49. The square root of 81, 9, is the square root of 81 because 9 times 9 equals 81. Actually, numbers have 2 square roots. They have a positive square root and a negative square root. 5 times 5 equals 25. And negative 5 times negative 5 equals 25 also. So, to avoid confusion, when we want a positive square root, we'll just simply write the square root or radical sign with a positive number on the inside of it, and that will give us the square root of 25 is just 5, because 5 times 5 is 25. And when we want a negative square root, we'll put a negative sign right outside of the radical sign. 25, the square root of 25 is 5. And since there is a negative sign out here, I'm going to put a negative sign on my square root. Now in this section, I want you to pause the video and try these out. Number 1, 8 squared is 8 times 8, and 8 times 8 is 64. Number 2 says, draw a picture of 5 squared. Well, if I were to draw a picture of 5 squared, that'd look like 5 across and 5 down. So I would want to have 5 rows. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then columns, and then 5 rows. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So 5 times 5 is 25. The area of this is 25. It's 5 across and 5 down. Number 3, the square root of 36. What number multiplied by itself will give you 36? 6. 6 times 6 is 36. Number 4 is the square root of 121, but it's the negative square root of 121. Well, I know that 11 times 11 is 121, and I have to put a negative sign on it because I'm looking for the negative square root. Number 5, what perfect square is represented by this picture? 1, 2, 3, 4. This square is 4 high and 1, 2, 3, 4 across. So the length and the height of the square is 4. So 4 squared. 4 times 4 is 16. And there's 16 little squares inside of the big square.